They already made their announcement about Pride for Riot. Well, by the way, guys, literally the first week of July, the first week after Pride Month, their League of Legends is in Saudi Arabia.
That's the thing I can't handle, is that it actually does literally, like a meme, the pride comes before the fall. I can't handle, I actually can't. And by the way, shout out Richard Lewis, if you know what he's doing, that's also hilarious, that scheme. But it also does, it's like they've actually set it up like that, isn't it? It's so ridiculous.
I think we'll probably, by the way, guys, we'll probably have a Four Horsemen on this topic soon, just because like it's so terrible. And we need to prime you guys for the mass hypocrisy.
Let's just address this now for the hilarity of it. Because, mate, I actually think that tweet the other day, even though, by the way, the way it was phrased wasn't like super inflammatory, it might be the most entitled tweet in the history of the esports industry. Because a woman who works for Team Liquid, right, it has layers to it, so I'll set it up. She did a tweet where it was the Pride Month tweet from Team Liquid, and she quote tweeted it. And cause obviously, like every year, and by the way, it's having an effect, by the way, Monty. You notice a lot of the orgs aren't doing it, or some of them are doing it for one day and then kicking off because they don't want this they don't want this splashback. They don't want like to get hated on for doing like, you know, a positive cause, or to everyone to point out you're a hypocrite, or even worse, everyone to point out the Saudi thing 24/7. So I get why some of the orgs are being a lot more kid gloves with this, right? Because Team Liquid did it, well, obviously everyone went in on them, like, especially because Team Liquid had done that famous like tweet where they did the cynical like hashtag to get more money from the Saudis. So because everyone was obviously banging on them, right? Instead of just thinking, well, in a way, I'm already having a cake and eating the cake by saying I support gays, but then working with people who hate gays. I won't just go, well, I'm already basically winning. So let me use, by the way, the most successful PR strategy in the history of corporate culture, which is kill it with silence. Which, by the way, works every time, because at the end of the day, me and Monty, the second we stop saying it, no one else says it. So you've already won. Instead of that, she decided to triple down in a way that is genius. She didn't get mad at herself and Team Liquid for working with the Saudis. She didn't get mad at the idea people might not want gay stuff. She got mad at all of it, tried to imply, this is mental, that the same people who wouldn't want them to do Pride also don't want them to work with the Saudis. It's like, that's insane gaslighting, because it's obviously a dichotomy, you idiot. It's not like the same group. Nobody in the world is going, don't do Pride and also don't work with the Saudis. And then lastly, this is the maddest one. She chose that the actual group of people we need to get mad at, are you ready, is people getting mad at Liquid for being hypocrites. Holy fuck. Like, basically, this woman just decided she's never wrong, as far as like the baseline presumption. Like, that one is mad, mate. The idea, the people you get mad at is us getting mad at you. Like, holy fuck, this gaslight is crazy.
Well, it's also, I mean, her job is the vice president of brand for Team Liquid.
That's wild too, isn't it? I know. That's wild too. It's not even an intern or something. Like, that's your whole shit is the brand.
I don't, you know, here's my experience with esports fans, guys. Usually pretty keyed in on these issues. Usually pretty pissed off about hypocrisy. As a group, you guys aren't stupid. And so you see these things and you don't like them most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how she could have a grasp on the Team Liquid brand. Or esports,
by the way,
that tweet.
Shout out to the random comment in the chat. I will just say this, even though it was phrased in a not very tactful way, this was actually a bagger, where the guy said they are supporting LGBTQ causes by sucking Saudi dick. Like, you know what? Fair play. Every now and then, you've got to give the little people a bit of shine. That's pretty good. By the way, Richard would appreciate that. That's pretty good. That's well crafted. Okay, fair play. I'll give you that. I'll see you. That's good. That's a good one. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just outrageous. And I think you're right, Thorin. Like, it is just better to be silent, because here's the thing. If you guys don't know, you can look at Richard's Substack that he's been writing.
Yes.
But he actually went out and he contacted every sponsor of every team, like 30 teams.
Oh, it's mad obnoxious. Yeah, it
is. So he like emailed every sponsor of every team that is a partner of the Esports World Cup, just to try and get comments from them or see if they would do anything. So, Thorin, I actually think he scared the rest of the teams to just not say anything, because he didn't want they didn't want to get into a social media firestorm where everybody tagged their sponsors.
You know the thing that cracked me up though, Monty. There's like a second layer that people are going to miss, which is that Richard has, like me, tried to like change his relationship with social media, and what battles does he get into, and do you, like, for example, if some little shitter that's nobody snipes at you, do you fire back? Do you say nothing? Do you try and be the bigger man? He's been struggling with that like I have. But you notice it was only a few months ago, Monty, when he did the CS2 major, that he sort of made it like he'd had this epiphany, and he had like a born again moment, and he wasn't going to be toxic anymore, and now he was not going to be about but then the joke is it's like it's just in us. You have to understand it's in our DNA at this point in time. And so then he sat there for a while like, oh, it's all sort of quiet on the Western Front, isn't it? And then and then out of nowhere he just came out like, in June I will be getting every tweet about it. There's just something in me and Richard Monty at this point that just like, we're like those people who like, the people who come home from war and they're traumatized because we're the guys who come home and we're traumatized because we can never get that feeling again. You know what I mean? Like, we need like to be in a war. We need to just be in a battle, because in that scenario, he is that like meme of like, I want problems. Oh, where's like, he just found a war to have. Like, there wasn't any left and he just found a new warfare player. Like, I'm the same, Monty. Like, I know that like, even if I say like, oh, I'm just going to ignore that shit, then I'm just like, then in my brain, you have the idle thoughts, just starts thinking, I should really make that video Wreck and Slasher. I never did. So yeah, somehow we're always going to have this venting approach, I think, where it's just always going to be who we are. I've just accepted it now. I've accepted it.
I think it's very entertaining. But
at least we're good at it. At least you sort of mastered our craft, haven't we?
So I think guys, we probably will be heading towards a Four Horsemen to discuss this, because I know some of you are probably very sick of it, but I think it's important that we continue to talk about the Saudi stuff. And at least for me,
I'll tell you an angle, Monty. I've got a suggestion for you, a real one. I actually would, for real, even though I might not agree with them on certain things, I actually think an episode that could be good is get an outside person who literally works in some sort of LGBTQ cause, who doesn't give a fuck about esports, they're not compromised, and just ask them like what Saudis do to people like that. I think that would actually, for real, be like an interesting guest to have, right? Because that's one thing I made this point. I saw you mirrored the point on Twitter. That's the most whack thing about this, mate. Is it's not that I actually expect people to be able to stop Riot and ESL and the South. No. But where is the resistance? Think about that, like hashtag Donald Trump resistant. Where are even the people speaking out? Like, where is the charity whose whole thing is just visibility for LGBT, so saying like, hey guys, we shouldn't work with the Saudi? There isn't anyone. It's actually like almost like blowing my mind. There's not anyone. There's not a single group. There's not even a group, remember, that doesn't like takes outside or crowdfunding or something. There's nobody that represents that. Like, the joke is, unironically, me, someone who quite famously isn't even in that group. At least Richard is in the LGBTQ fucking community, guys. Like, I have nothing to do with it, and I've in no way ever attacked it. Why am I one of the leading voices for this topic? It's because there's no one else. I had to just fill the vacuum. So, like, I actually think, for real, I would like someone who cares about this topic to speak about it. I would like it.
Well, that's because, the genius of what the tragic genius of what Riot and the Saudi government has done is that they've basically been able to gag everybody. That's what sports washing is, guys, is that by creating this partnership, by paying the teams, they have gagged all of the teams. And Riot itself, if you have a co-streaming deal with them, you can't say anything bad about Riot. And so if you start criticizing Riot, because guess what, guys? Riot is also taking money from the Saudi Arabian government, because how do you think they got a license to run this tournament? And the fact that Riot specifically did not say that they didn't take money. Because remember, they said, we're doing it during our break week, guys. We have nothing to do with this event. But they did not say that they did not take money. They did take money, guys. And here's another little spoiler for you that'll probably come out in the future. There have been a lot of Riot senior executives in Saudi Arabia over the last year.
Right.
A lot of them. Multiple times. So I don't know what the fuck they're cooking up over there, but it's probably going to go beyond Esports World Cup. I wouldn't be surprised, Thorin, if the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund bought part of Riot from Tencent.
By the way, it would be a smart move.
I know.
And by the way, spoiler: Tencent wouldn't give a fuck about selling that. Like, they're not going to go, well, I don't know if I want to work with the Saudis. Like, they don't give a fuck, guys.
And as I've said, this is just the test. This is the little probe that they're shooting off.
No joke, in a way, even though I don't want it to happen, I'm not an accelerationist. I actually want things to go well and for us to reverse the course. But in a way, that would be the ultimate one, Monty, if you want to wreck everyone in esports. Because what the fuck do those anti-Neon people in the talent do if literally the same people who were Neon buy the company they work for? What would they even do, bro? That would actually be glorious in a way, wouldn't it?
It's going to be worse, because I think that they're just going to directly take over LCS and LEC eventually.
It makes sense. If you look at what they've done with like the Daughter Circuit and what they're doing with like StarCraft, all that shit makes sense.
Riddle me this. So one thing,
right? Here's my suggestion, Monty. I actually think for real, this might be the logical thing. I keep hearing all the time, Monty, behind the scenes about like that EFG, the ESL Faceit group, doing deals with people or getting into part. Here's the obvious thing. Maybe we just come full circle, and at the end, ESL just runs the LCS and the LEC. Maybe you just white label it, and the joke is they already own that shit. Yeah.
I will say this, even if it doesn't happen. So I think, and I've said this before, in a year or two, I would be shocked if MSI was not in Riyadh because it was already in Brazil. They've already set a precedent. It doesn't have to be in a major region. Esports World Cup is the test probe to see if this works, guys, to see how mad you get.
MSI, yeah.
Yeah, to see how mad you get, to see how well ESL does at producing the event. Like, this is a trial. This is a trial. And the end result of this is likely that they are going to start taking over the League of Legends circuit. Maybe they start by taking over MSI, then they take over LEC and LCS. And here's the thing, Thorin. Now, they've been doing a lot of really suspicious things recently. Remember when they laid off all those people?
Technically, Monty, the worst thing I've realized as well is that thing that you pointed out a while ago, that because they changed it to EMEA, you could even have the LEC finals in Riyadh, mate.
Yep. So
here's
the other thing. Here's the other thing. Part of all of those LCS and LEC layoffs was because they have been changing the locations of the people who have been running LCS and LEC. And by that, I mean, they have been hiring an outside production company to then hire people to run it out of Seattle and out of Dublin. Okay. So now the LEC control room is mostly in Dublin at Riot Striker facility, and that is crewed very crucially no longer by Riot employees, but by a third-party production company that hires those employees. Right. So what this means, guys, is that at any point in time, they could yoink that contract, and guess who gets it? ESL. ESL gets it. ESL employees go to Dublin, or they run it out of Cologne. Right, they run it out of their facilities, or they run it out of Katowice. They've got stuff there too, and they run a remote control room themselves. But what they are setting up, what Riot is very deliberately setting up, is offloading their full-time employees to another company, and then you wonder what happens in the future if they decide to start bidding for that. I think
also the most Riot way to do it, because I wanted them to use a third party the whole time, so they just did it in the worst possible way. So brilliant. And way later than I want them to. So, as usual, it's like this thing we're going to talk about in a minute with best of threes, Monty. Right? This is why I'm so bored of esports. Because I want best of threes. So, in theory, when you announce best of threes, I should celebrate, right? But all I can think of is the gaslighting I've had from everyone else in the LCS fucking environment about they hate best of threes. And then them doing that thing again, like, what the hell? Now I think they are great. Oh, why are you all like this? Can't we just fucking do it right the first time? Why do I have to be proven right, but 10 years too late? Why?
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.